Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance, where people conform to the letter but not the spirit of a request. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some malicious compliance.
Superior wants us to be honest, but cannot cope with our honesty. As a background, this is a story from a friend of mine that has to endure a 9 months training in some government facilities. The director of the training was a government officer and is responsible for my friend's batch to succeed in this training. The whole batch is around 60 people. The participants were people from different backgrounds, from ultra rich to the less advantaged people, but all have something in common: they were smart and well educated. The said boss likes to talk a lot, quite rude, told cringy jokes, trying to be friendly and all. He was in his 50s and all the participants were around 21 to 25 years old. And he often insults people, sometimes seriously, but more often in a joking way. Everybody was tired of him, but nobody would dare say anything. They just tried to cope since it's only 9 months. Finally, the 9 months ends. And after having a long exam, all participants passed the training. They were having an excursion to some camping grounds where they enjoy the nature, games, etc. At night, they have a huge bonfire where everybody sat circling the fire. Everything was fine until the director stood up and tells everybody that since it was the end of the program, he wants to hear a critique towards him about his management, about his manners, about everything. He even emphasized that don't worry, this will not affect your further career. I can take critics, just be honest. Everybody froze in silence. Nobody says a word. Someone mumbled, nothing to be complained, but the director insists on hearing any critics. So, he starts calling some person to say their word, but every person is silent. Some just say mild things that were easily acceptable. Instead of critics, they appreciate blah blah blah. Until the director called a girl. Let's say her name was Mary. Mary was not so good in local language since she was born and raised abroad. It's not a trouble for her to follow the training since it was done in a foreign language anyway. But this night, everybody spoke in their local language. As somebody raised abroad, being asked to say honestly means honesty. So she just poured out everything that she felt about the rude behavior, about the bad jokes, and his mismanagement. And being poor in the local language has caused it that the expression she said to be far worse. Such as if the director was an authoritarian leader, etc, etc. Now, Mary, at the time, didn't have any clue about social cues of locals, so she just said whatever she felt, which was true as that was what everybody else felt. But it's rude for us, so nobody dares to say that. The director stood up, silent, and couldn't take that the critics by saying, "You are all ungrateful to me, that I have been busting my butt for you guys for all your own goodness." He didn't take that critics nicely, walked out of the bonfire event. The result: since that very night, the director never ever talked again to the whole batch of training participants, and always talked about that night where he was criticized. Well, if you cannot take critics, don't ever insist on having people criticize yourself, especially from a person known to be frank. I'm so confused, the guy literally said, "Oh no, I can take it, and then as soon as somebody said something, he couldn't, like, what? You need to return the company car by 4 PM. Sure thing, boss, I can do that. This is not my story, but my cousin's who doesn't have Reddit, so I am the lucky one to tell it to you guys. Also, this story is about 5 years old and he doesn't work for them anymore. My cousin worked as a driver for a big retail company, so he basically is the guy with the white van that transports merchandise between the warehouse and the stores. Because of the needs of the job, each driver serves more than one shop. he routinely ended up not finishing his route by home time, which is supposed to be at 4, so all the drivers get to the vans at home so they don't have to take the van back to the base. This was normal, and all drivers did this, which saved a lot of time and money for the company. One of the drivers won the national lottery, several million euros. He resigned on the spot and told the boss that if the company wants the van, they need to go by his house and pick it up. The CEO found out about this, so in order for this not to happen, he orders the drivers to have the vans to the warehouse by 4 or face the consequences, which basically meant lose your job. Drivers tried to argue, but the big boss was relentless. All drivers angrily complied to the letter. So, the next day, my cousin does his rounds, but in order to take the van back by 4, he doesn't have the time to do the last store. Also, he was late for the first delivery the day after, as he had to pick up the van from the base and do the delivery he didn't have time from the day before. Also, on day number 2, he didn't have time to deliver to 2 shops, as he had to take the van back by 4. In 2 days, all drivers were running late and store managers were extremely unhappy, as they couldn't restock on time and complaints started to flood the management. Realizing that for this to work, he needed more drivers and more vans, he quietly retracted the order via the local management and things went back to normal. This saga lasted for 2 whole days. Wait, so he implemented that for the sole reason that one person won the national lottery? Did he expect like everyone else to start winning the lottery so it happened more often? What? Alright, I will cancel and reorder. This happened just now. I ordered furniture worth $3,000 from a local dealer. This store offers free delivery over $1,000. Last week, I ordered furnitures, or sofas, which cost just over $1,000. I was looking for a matching set to go with my sofa. It took some time for me to find the rest of the furniture. Earlier today, I called the store to order the additional furniture, which costs just over $2,000. The store rep added this furniture to my existing order instead of creating a new order. The item ordered last week is going to be delivered tomorrow. The item I ordered today is expected to be delivered in 2 to 3 weeks. Everything was looking fine, but then I get a call from the store. Hi, our boss reviewed your order and you have a split delivery, so you have to pay $99 for the items which arrive in about 2 to 3 weeks. I was informed delivery is free over $1,000. Yes, but our boss says that this is a split delivery, and it will cost the store more to deliver as there will be 2 visits instead of 1. Alright, this is not how it was explained to me. I would like to cancel my second order I placed today. Okay. Can you take a new order for me? This costs over $2,000. Does it qualify for the free delivery? Yes, let me call you back. The rep calls back. You are good to go. We won't charge you $99 for the delivery of your second order. If they were trying to be really petty, they could have just cancelled both orders and put the furniture somewhere else. That'd have been the kind of petty revenge you want. Can't go out before curfew? Then we'll go out after it. A long while ago, when I was in high school, every year the class would take a trip abroad guided by the teachers. When we were 16, the trip was to London for 3 days. For many of us, it was the first real trip out of the country without our parents present. A few of us were in the more gifted class of the year, the nerd class, and thus very good boys that studied hard and never did anything wrong. We always hung out together and did geeky stuff, but overall nothing special. The trip went great and we saw a lot of neat things. Come nighttime, we got the basic info about the bad hotel we were staying in from one of the hotel staff. including the fact that there was a night bell for when someone needed to get in after 10 PM. This info was probably meant for the teachers than the students, but somehow it stuck with us. The teachers had us in our room by 9:30 PM and lights out would be around 10:30 PM. The exact words were, everyone in their room at 9:30 PM and at the breakfast table at 8 AM. What you do in between is your business. Probably figuring some light partying and a few couples getting together. Between arriving at the hotel and lights out, we figured that we would call the rooms directly, so we prank called a bunch of people and snuck about between rooms and such, but nothing major. When 10:30 PM came, the teachers went about knocking on doors to make sure everyone was present and told us to turn off the lights. We complied, but us being the sneaky little clever guys we are, we waited for about half an hour. Then, we got up, snuck out of the hotel, and proceeded to wander the city for a few hours. We felt really good defying the rules and all, but did nothing really special than just walk around. After a couple of hours, we went back to the hotel, rang the night bell, and went to our room. The next morning, we were at breakfast on time and went about the day like nothing happened. The rest of the trip was great, but no more shenanigans occurred. We thought we got away with it, but once we were back home and on regular scheduled school programming, we were all called into the principal's office. Apparently, news got around to him of our little nighttime excursion. Cue the malicious compliance. They told us to be in bed by 10:30 PM and breakfast at 8 AM, which we were, so technically we did nothing wrong. Amazingly, since we were all such good students and nice boys all around, we got away with it with a slap on the wrist. Maybe a few tears convinced the principal of our innocence. There's some r/mad lads right there. Oh, sneaking out of the hotel. It's a nice wholesome malicious compliance there though. Made my boss, who barely worked, get reprimanded and fired by the director. So this story takes place about 3 years ago when I was doing an internship alongside two of my friends from the same class. So to give some basic details, me and my two friends got an internship at a large school under their IT department. Fix IT related problems all over the school and fix problems for students, teachers, guests, etc. Now, the job was okay, nothing to write home about, and the pay was $5 a day to make up for gas expenditures. So imagine working from 8 to 5, often having to finish up, stretching that from 8 to 6, for $25 a week, for 4 months. So essentially, slave labor in exchange for fulfilling a school requirement. So when we started, we met our boss in our shared office. We'll call him Ron. He seemed alright, but not much of a talker. Someone you could tell a joke and he'd stare at you, not sure to react. So the first week went alright. He was supposed to have us tag along and show us the ropes, but he more or less just sent us out to nothing. Pretty bad to do to a bunch of barely adult lads just starting their education. But regardless, we made it work. I more or less did Ron's job and told my friends what to do and how to do it, splitting up the jobs, saying who did what, etc. Ron's initial inaction became worse though. When he entered, he took a long coffee break 5 minutes after entering, usually from 20 minutes to an hour, despite there being a coffee machine right outside our office. He would come back and do close to nothing, and take his lunch break at 11, ranging from 2 to 4 hours. And when he came back, he would take at least 2 more coffee breaks. To boil it down, on a good day, he would work 5 to 6 hours of his 9-hour contract, and on a bad day, maybe 3 to 4 hours. After about 3 months of this, we were all tired of this BS. We worked 4 extra hours on average a week, didn't learn anything, and barely had time for our own lunch breaks. which we usually ended up taking a quick bite in between phone calls or jobs. So I started following the exact details of the contract instead. Several smoke breaks, 1 hour lunch break, etc. And got permission from the boss to take our breaks together, since we didn't have time to meet any coworkers. As such, it'd be uncomfortable to take lunch breaks alone. It's worth noting, Ron drove home during his lunch breaks, hence them being so long, and he was the main contact if the office phones were not answered, but he rarely answered his phone, it was usually off. So whenever Ron went on his break, we waited exactly 1 hour, his lunchtime, before going on our own break, and then we extended our break to 2 hours, usually arriving back at the office room before Ron had come back. Well, we carried this on for several weeks. Every time work had piled up, there were people waiting in front of the office. The phones also had a dozen missed calls. Well, one day we were on our break and Ron calls saying his work phone was full of missed calls, obviously panicking, telling us to go to the office. Well, I politely inform him I just started my break, and he is supposed to be at the office himself given his lunch break is long over. Right, Ron? Before saying that I'd see him in 50 minutes when our break is over. So we get back there and find the director talking loudly at him, and him deflecting, saying there must have been a schedule mix-up, etc. Well, we think it ended there, before falling into his old behaviour, and at that point our time is up. We say our goodbyes and go get the director to get our internship results. So, he says we all did great and he heard good things about us, but our attendance had not been good for the past 3 weeks, so he couldn't give us the full grade. So at that point, I stop him and tell him the entire story about Ron and his breaks, and that we followed the rules to the letter. I also showed him our work schedule, which is filled in, and shows we were not skipping much of anything. Well, he pretty much flips, and basically thanks us for keeping the entire IT operation running, and that he will have a word with Ron, and that he will change our grades back. After that, I didn't hear anything, so I decided to message an ex-coworker from the internship to see what happened. Apparently, Ron got berated, told to fix his act, slipped back into his behavior, and got fired. How many places do that, like hire people as internships, because you can charge them like really cheap, and if it's not a skilled job or it's quite easy to get that job, then surely you could just hire all your workers as interns and just make a load of profit.
Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like, and if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.